Hey Pottery Plus, welcome back to the studio. I'm here with my fall scented candle. Apples and cinnamon, no pumpkin spice here. And to celebrate spooky season, which is my favorite time of the year, Daniela loves Halloween and all things horror too. We thought we would do some spooky studio tales because I have a couple of them actually from a couple different studios. So the first one I wanted to share with you today is, if you've been here before, you've heard me say this a million times, an art center story. So if you're new, I worked at an art center as an adult pottery instructor and studio assistant for around 10 years. I haven't been working there for a while, but it was a really formative part of my life. And so I have a lot of stories from that art center, including a spooky one. I think I only have one from there, but I was there for so long. I feel like if I really thought about it, there were probably a couple, creepy times that I had there other than just this one. But to give a tiny bit of backstory, this building was old and it was on a fairgrounds. And so it was kind of an interestingly positioned building in a kind of a unique area of town. And lots of people that I worked with there and students there had said that it had kind of a creep factor to it. I loved that about it, but there were definitely people who didn't care for certain parts of that building. So, and in particular, there was a girl that worked there that was she was like the facilities manager, and she had worked there. She was like the longest standing employee that was there at the time. And so she knew this building like the back of her hand, and she said there was definitely some strange things going on there. So for her to say that, I thought it was just kind of validating that, sometimes you would get kind of a creepy feeling there. But nothing that felt like evil or anything like that. So anyway, it was kind of around the time when I had first started working there. I think I had been working maybe a few months. Maybe we were getting around the year mark. And I had a wonderful privilege when I worked there. And this was before I started teaching. I had just gotten kind of like what you would call like an internship there to start. But I had studio space there, which was like the best thing ever. And this was also at a time where I was single and I had just moved in with my good girlfriend, and she was also my roommate because she had recently become single. So we moved in together. And she is a potter, and she would come up to the studio with me as well because we had a lot of free time. And so at that time of our lives, we lived together, we were friends, we didn't have much else to do. So we would spend a lot of time at the art center in my little corner studio space that I had, and she would come in there and work too. She eventually ended up working there as well. So anyway, we kind of had like free access, which, you guys, I don't know if anything like that would ever happen again. Like, it was just such a completely, we could kind of do whatever we wanted. We could be there whenever we wanted. We could open up the building whenever we wanted. It was just again, something that would probably never happen again. But, 10, 12 years ago, that's just how it was. So we would be there at night a lot. And this particular night, when this spooky tale takes place, it was cold outside. I remember it was winter. We were there pretty late, I know it was past 9 because the center was closed, and that was the closing time typically, was 9 or 10, depending on what kind of events were going on there. So we were the only ones in the building. I know that. And we were just there working. I think we were listening to music, but we weren't being too loud or, causing trouble or anything. We were just there working, chatting, and listening to music. And all of a sudden, we hear a very loud and encompassing bang. Not like shotgun bang, like something hitting the wall, like something really big and heavy hitting a wall type of bang. And of course we freeze and we're looking at each other. And you kind of have that moment in times like this where you're looking at each other or you're just by yourself and you're like, okay, maybe that's just a one-off. Maybe we can keep going. Pretend that didn't happen and everything go back to normal. Didn't happen. It kept going, and it was almost even double creepy because there was a minute or two between each bang. So we'd kind of feel I feel like every time we'd almost be like, okay, it's over. Maybe that was the last one. And then bang, the next one would hit. And so, of course, we start trying to figure out what it is, where it's coming from. And at first we were thinking it was someone outside. Because again, the part of town that this building was in just had a lot of, like, it wouldn't have been that surprising for there to be like nighttime activity going on outside the building. So we're thinking someone's banging on the door, and we're like, what? Well, why are they waiting so long in between each bang? And which door is it coming from? Because we were in an area of the building where there was like a back exterior door, and then there was also like a loading dock with like a garage door. So we kind of start investigating, going near each door, waiting for the next sound, and we could tell it wasn't anything pounding on the doors. So it's more like inside the building than outside the building. So again, we're kind of walking around trying to get closer to this sound to figure out what it is, which now looking back on it, I think that was pretty brave. I think now I would just be trying to get out of there and get away from the sound. And I think we did talk about that. Like, should we just grab what we need and leave? But again, we didn't know if it was coming from outside. So we didn't want to just burst through the doors outside into some unknown situation. So we're getting more and more scared. The bangs are still happening. We get to an area where it's louder and we're like, okay, are we getting closer to it or is it getting closer to us? Because the bangs were getting louder. So we're pretty scared. I feel like we were both getting to the point where I think we were holding hands and we were just kind of like, just sort of panicked, honestly. We were just sort of panicked. So we get to a point, we're kind of in like a hallway. Not a hallway because it was really wide, but it was sort of a transitional space in between different studios. There was a bathroom over there too. And we can tell we're right next to it. It's right next to us. And you guys, the fear it was just, for me, I remember it just being gripping. I mean, I remember my heart pounding. I was sweating a little bit, like that fear sheen of sweat that you get, when you're just like, I'm terrified and I don't know what to do. And I can't remember which one of us looked down, but there was a vending machine right there, a soda machine with cans. And I think it was my friend looked down and she looked into the little drop slot where the sodas would come out. And there were all these burst frozen soda cans down there. It's anticlimactic because it wasn't a ghost, but that was a weird thing to happen. And the sound that it was making was just ungodly. So we breathe a sigh of relief and we're like, oh my God, it was just exploding soda cans this whole time. But what was weird, you guys, was that never happened again, first of all. And second of all, none of them, like, it stopped. Like, they didn't keep exploding. It was like once we figured it out, what it was, they stopped. And I wouldn't necessarily chalk that up to something supernatural. It was just weird. And like for it to happen, when we're there alone in the dark and it was cold outside and it's making this very intimidating, threatening sound, was just super, super weird. But I don't think it was necessarily a ghost. I just think it was a strange occurrence that was quite terrifying for a moment. But yeah, apparently the machine had just gotten so cold that everything in there was starting to burst. And that was the sound we were hearing. It was exploding Diet Cokes and Dr. Peppers. So that's that story. I really think that sometimes what makes a story scary is the context. And for me with this story, it was the building and the setting and the context more than what was going on. That was the scary part. So anyway, if you have any stories like that where something seemed like it was about to get you and you were just absolutely horrified and then it turned out to be something silly like exploding soda cans, let me know. And I'll have one more Spooky Studio story for you this month that actually does include something that I deduced to be actually something supernatural. Nothing bad, but something definitely interesting and possibly from the other side. And it's not an art center story. It's from my home studio at the last place I lived. So I hope you'll come back and join us for that one. I hope you're having a wonderful fall or Halloween season, whichever part of it you like to celebrate or not at all. I just hope that you're having a great day, a great week, and we'll see you back here next time for another frightening tale. Bye-bye, Pottery Plus. See you later. Bye.